Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's presentation on electric vehicle tax credits, where we have the Nevada Electric Vehicle Association joining us to share some financial incentives and rebates for EVs. My name is Olivia Burns. I'm an environmental specialist with Clark County's Office of Sustainability, and happy Drive Electric Earth Month. It is now in April. Joining us today is Paul with the Nevada Electric Vehicle Association. Before I pass it to Paul to get us started about all things EV tax credits related, I will help you go over some tips to enhance your presentation experience and change the language and add captions. All right, firstly, you could translate the page and or the meeting audio to another language. Doing so, click the translate button and select a language from the drop-down menu. Closed captions are also available for this presentation by clicking the CC button on the right corner of the presentation page. Viewers may call in to hear audio, text, and comments, or leave a voicemail by dialing the 855 number right above the presentation page. Another way to interact is by putting comments and questions in the chat box next to the viewing screen. If you think of a question during the presentation, please put them there and Paul and I will review those at the very end. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on the Sustain Clark County YouTube channel shortly after. If you have any difficulties hearing or viewing the presentation, please try refreshing the meeting page. Now I will pass it to Paul to get us started. Thank you, Paul.
Great. Thanks, Olivia. Let me get my screen started for us all as well here. Now, we're going to have a lot of details to go over today, so I'm going to do my very best to cover it in detail, but I might go kind of quickly. So, as Olivia said, please make sure to check the video recording afterwards. It'll be posted somewhat later in case I went a little too fast for you. So, appreciate you all being here for us and for this event. We wanted to make sure that you knew about us, the Nevada Electric Vehicle Association. We like to say EVA, of course, stands for Electric Vehicle Association, but it also stands for our primary missions, which are education, visibility, and advocacy. We host many special events throughout the year, including Drive Electric Earth Month now, but we have our special event this year on Saturday, the 20th at Springs Preserve as part of being partners with Clark County and the Springs Preserve for that. We also do a National Drive Electric Week in September, usually the last weekend of the month, so please be looking for that. And of course, our other outreach has to do with doing community education, things like this. We do events at the Summerlin Library as well coming up in April and May, so please be looking out for those as well. So let's get into it very quickly because I know everyone's time is valuable. We want to talk about the federal clean vehicle credit that was part of the IRA bill to incentivize for buyers to look at electric vehicles as an alternative. As it stands right now, there is a rebate up to $7,500. And something that's a little new for 2024, you can take that rebate actually as cash, or at the point at which you're purchasing a vehicle, you can actually sign a document and have that money applied to the vehicle price, so bringing the price of the new vehicle down. There are some requirements, of course, so you've got to follow the rules. It has to be on the purchase or finance of a new electric vehicle. The final assembly of that vehicle has to be in North America. Some of these things are new requirements for 2024. The breakdown on the 7,500 rebate is based on both where and how the battery minerals were sourced and how those battery components are sourced. So you see the split there, just 50-50, 37-50 for each. Some vehicles you may find will only qualify for half of them because they don't qualify for both events. Now, a new wrinkle for 2024 with these new restrictions, the number of vehicles that are eligible for the full tax credit has been reduced. Last time I checked it, it went from roughly 50 vehicles to about 27. And again, this is always going to be an evolving, changing thing between the IRS and the federal government. So we always advise you to check these sites and make sure that the information is still current. At the website fueleconomy.gov, the government website, will again give you the complete list of those vehicles that are eligible for either the 3750 or the full 7500. There are some MSRP limits on the vehicles, up to $80,000 for SUVs, pickup trucks, and vans, and up to $55,000 for all other vehicles such as sedans and crossovers. For the income limits, if you file your taxes jointly, it's $300,000 total for the couple. If you're filing head of household, $225K, and if you're a single person, $150K. So those are pretty generous limits for most people will qualify. It also, you can use your adjusted gross income for last year or this year, an estimate of what it's going to be for this year, if for some reason you're right on the edge of qualifying. Again, as I've spoken before, the credit can be given directly to the dealer in order to be applied to the vehicle price. So it brings down your ultimate price with that. The dealer in particular needs to be established with the IRS system that they have established for this. So basically they can go look up the vehicle, show that it qualifies, and they create a specific document that yes, you will need for your taxes for this year if you were to purchase this year. And in the case of where if you've signed it over to the dealership, you have stated that in your taxes, the document will state that. And so it doesn't affect your taxes, but it shows you used it, and here's the document to prove it. So if you do purchase a new EV this year and it qualifies for some of those credits, make sure that you do not walk out of that dealership without that IRS document. That is very important. Now, another wrinkle in this thing, of course, a lot of electric vehicle drivers prefer to lease their vehicles, partly because they like to get the new features and the new things, because the vehicles have been developing fairly quickly in the last few years, and others do it for other reasons of their own. The most interesting part of the IRA bill, and that's set up these tax credits, is that there's actually fewer restrictions on which vehicles qualify. The reason is, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, this falls into the part of the law that has to do with commercial EV use. And under that part of the bill, the restrictions are much, much lower. Virtually all of those restrictions about North American-based assembly and so forth are eliminated. And because technically the lease company owns the vehicle that you are leasing from them, those restrictions go away. So essentially, as long as you're under the MSRP limits and the income limits, just about all new electric vehicles will qualify for the tax credit. Again, the lessor will take that credit. They are supposed to pass it on to you, but we warn and advise everyone to make double sure on your paperwork that you see that $7,500 or $3,750 come off the price of your vehicle. Again, verify that credit before you sign any papers. And again, make sure not to leave the dealership without that IRS document that you will need for your taxes at the end of the year. Now, another one that's a personal little soapbox of my own has to do with used electrics. The IRA bill finally added in some provisions so that even lower income people who can't afford a more expensive new electric vehicle can still see some benefits from it. I'm personally on my second used electric. Unfortunately, I bought it before all this went through, so we'll go from there. Again, you can check the fueleconomy.gov website for which models are eligible for the used tax credit. It is credited at 30% of the sale price up to $4,000. Now, one thing I learned from the last seminar is this qualifies for both electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids. Both will qualify for the full $4,000 amount. The restrictions have to do with the MSRP of the vehicle, must be $25,000 or less, and the vehicle must be 2 model years old or older. So at this point, we're talking 2022 or older. When the new models come out in the fall or the winter, then 2023 will be added. Again, these purchases should all happen through a dealer licensed with the IRS. The income limits are, of course, again, are lower. For joint filing for couples, it's $150,000. For a head of household, total income of $112,500, and a single person is $75,000. And as a vehicle driver, as a purchaser, you are eligible to take this used EV tax credit once every 3 years. So if you decide to lease a vehicle if you can do that on a 2-year-old vehicle, and you return it after 3 years, your next vehicle may in fact again qualify for the used EV tax credit. Again, I stress this over and over again. Make sure not to leave a dealership without getting that IRS document. They are the ones that are able to certify that this used vehicle hasn't already used the used EV tax credit and gives you that document for your tax filing. So just make sure that you're ahead of that. All the other little requirements, make sure we go over this relatively quickly. Vehicles in the used EVs must be purchased for personal use and not for resale. You can't be the original owner of the vehicle, so you can't turn around and refinance it and get the used credit on your car. You can't be claimed on a dependent on someone else's tax return. The vehicle must be used primarily in the U.S. Each vehicle gets only one tax credit. Now, let me clarify about that because that might even be a question coming up. A vehicle brand new today that gets the new vehicle tax credit can in fact get the used EV tax credit once it's past those 2 model years. So technically every vehicle could get the one new credit and the one used credit over its lifetime. Again, the dealer is required to look up the vehicle, verify that this used vehicle has not had the credit applied before, and it's required to report it to the IRS and give you that document. And unfortunately, businesses, nonprofits, and fleets are not eligible under the used EV program. Now, as I referred to before, there is a commercial EV credit also under the IRA bill. That's where the little loophole about leasing your vehicle comes into play for individuals, but for businesses, it also there is a provision as well. The vehicle typically can be made by a qualified manufacturer, must charge from an external source. They're a little more detailed about it to make sure that the vehicle is fully electric and it's not some other kind of thing. As we know, large 18-wheeler semi-pickup trucks can have generators and so forth to run the cabin, so they just want to make sure it's correct. If the vehicle is under 14,000 pounds, it has to have a 7-kilowatt motor or larger. That's virtually everything except things like golf carts. Vehicles over 14,000 pounds have to have a 15-kilowatt-hour battery. I don't know any vehicles over 14,000 pounds who don't qualify in this case, but again, vehicles are coming out all the time. The credit is similar to the used EVs. It's 30% of the sale price for the vehicles, or 15% of the sale price for a plug-in electric version. So that rebate is considerable when we're talking about large vehicles. It's the same as our regular vehicles for individuals, $7,500 if that vehicle's under 14,000 pounds. If we're talking things like semi-trucks and so forth, that rebate can go up to $40,000 if the vehicle's over 14,000 pounds. So for your business, this could be a very significant rebate and savings. Other requirements: the vehicle must be new, must not be acquired for any type of resale. Again, the vehicle only gets one tax credit. The vehicle has to be used for business purposes in this case. And again, the seller must be signed up for the IRS program and do all the paperwork in order to get that credit. I know we're going fast, and I apologize for that, but we want to make sure we can get in everything. I expect a bunch of questions on this, so we want to make sure. After the seminar, or if you've got a very fast pen and you can write this down, these are some places for the additional links and resources. Again, most of the information you are seeing from this presentation actually comes directly from the Plug-in America website. Plug-in America is one of our big sponsors for the adoption of electric vehicles nationwide, and they have a fantastic website for resources on all kinds of things, including the rebates and so forth. Also on there, it's actually on their website, but they have a separate website, the EV buying guide called PlugStar. We did a live seminar yesterday, and somebody asked about, well, how can I find an EV and which one is right for me? Their website actually has an EV guide that asks you questions about how you drive, where you drive, what do you have a home or another residence, and that kind of thing. And they basically plug in the types of vehicles that are available now that would fit best for your needs. The leasing is a little harder to find, unfortunately. So I found a good resource on a website called insightevs.com, and they have a very updated page on what the leasing requirements are and the restrictions, and if anything in particular has changed for 2024 versus 2023 when the law originally went through. So I hope that's helpful. If you have questions outside of this, outside of our event and want to contact us later, We are always available. You can email us at nevadaevassociation@gmail.com, and we are more than happy to answer questions. If you would like to have seminars like this for your particular group or particular kind of event, we're more than happy to do those as well. Feel free to contact us.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul, for all the insight on the clean vehicle credit. It was great to see all the requirements you laid out and the cost savings associated with that. But yeah, let me grab the audience questions. Well, can you tell us what the benefits of leasing a vehicle is for someone who has never leased?
The main reasons for leasing that I'm aware of, at least, is it's a lot of lower initial outlay because, again, you're not committing to owning this vehicle. You're basically renting the vehicle, if you want to say, for a long period of time. So your financial responsibility over the course of 2 or 3 years is significantly lower than, say, for example, purchasing that vehicle outright. I'm always kind of on the hunt for this so I can be semi-educated when I give answers to questions like these. Just as an example, one that happens to be happening right now. So I'm not saying this is across the board, but for example, Hyundai has a deal on two different vehicles right now, both leases. One is the Ioniq 6, and it starts at a $239 deposit, I believe it is, and $239 a month. So that is a very reasonable way to get into that vehicle. If you try to purchase that vehicle, a 5-year note is going to be somewhere in the area of, I think it is $400 or more. So it becomes a more affordable option. Again, leases are very popular with EV drivers because, especially the people that have been in already, there's a term marketing people like to use called early adopters. So we get in, even though some of the experiences may be a little more painful than some people are used to. Charging stations can still be a bit of a challenge and things like that. But we're okay with it. We're willing to deal with it. And so early adopters will deal with that more than others. And so they like to get the newer car. They like to get the better battery. They like the new electronics. There's advances always coming up with full self-driving. And again, better battery efficiencies or larger batteries. And so a lot of people like to swap out every 3 years. And some people just do that whether it's an electric vehicle or not because they just like to have the next new shiny thing. The best advice I have heard about leasing is that if you run an excessive number of miles in your vehicle per year, that can be a problem because leases usually have mileage limits, somewhere between 10 or 15,000 miles. If you do a very good job of taking care of your car, if you're one of those people that vacuums it every week or couple of weeks and it gets car washes and stuff, then you're a pretty good candidate for EVs. You want to be able to take care of them because there can be penalties as you exit a lease if there's excessive damage or those kinds of things. So if you don't drive a lot of miles and you maintain your vehicles really well, you're a good candidate for the lease. If you're not, you may want to look really hard at it and see if it's your best option.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Could you explain a bit more on the amount of tax liability and how it relates to the tax credits for EVs?
The easiest way probably to explain this is the way it worked in 2023 versus 2024. In 2023, it was the same situation. You could get a car, you could get a $7,500 rebate or $3,750 or whatever you qualified for. However, you had to have that level of tax liability in order to take full advantage. So if you bought a new EV, you had a $7,500 credit for purchasing it, but you only owed, say, $5,000 in taxes, you were only going to get $5,000 back on your taxes. In other words, you'd lose the $2,500 you did not owe. The new situation for 2024 is that you can do the same thing. You can still write it off on your taxes, or you can decide to transfer that credit to the dealership, and basically you're guaranteed to get the $7,500 or $3,750 or $4,000, whatever you qualify for. Again, the document that you get from the dealership just informs the IRS, yes, I bought a vehicle, yes, I got the tax rebate, but I assigned it to the dealer at the time of purchase. So that's the main difference. Does that answer the full question, Olivia?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Could you explain a bit more on the amount of tax liability and how it relates to the tax credits for EVs?
Easiest way probably to explain this is the way it worked in 2023 versus 2024. In 2023, it was the same situation. You could get a $7,500 rebate or $3,750 or whatever you qualified for. Again, the document that you get from the dealership just informs the IRS, yes, I bought a vehicle, yes, I got the tax rebate, but I assigned it to the dealer at the time of purchase. So that's the main difference. Does that answer the full question, Olivia?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
And next question we have is, are there recreational vehicles that are EV?
Specifically, if we want to talk things like trucks, things like um, some more off-road vehicles, one of our members of the club has the Jeep Rubicon. I apologize if I get this wrong because I'm not a big off-roader myself, but he has the Rubicon 4xe. So in Jeep in particular, the models you're looking for are 4 by E, and those are the hybrid vehicles. As far as I know, the fully electric Jeeps have not hit stores yet, but they are on their way. I believe it's the Jeep Wrangler that's coming. Of course, the Cybertruck is going to be a very big deal. We've seen maybe 2 or 3 of them here in town, so they're still causing quite a sensation when they drive around. I believe the Ford F-150 Lightning has options for going off-roading, but if you're talking a straight up recreational vehicle like a motorhome, like a Winnebago, that I have not seen any vehicles that are hybrid or electric yet. Doesn't mean they're not coming. I just haven't seen them myself.
Thank you, Paul. And if anybody else has any more questions, please put them in the chat. Next question we have is, does any entity, government, or utilities in Nevada offer incentives for buying used EV or EV charging stations and or installations of charging stations?
Yes, I will say it that way and without knowing all the specific details because NV Energy is in the process of revising their what they call their power shift program. So they had some incentives in the past regarding putting a residential EV charger in your home. They had a time of use program where you saw reduced rates on your electricity for charging at night, for owning an electric vehicle and using it to charge at night. I'm not 100% sure if all of those programs are still in place. I believe, again, that they're being revised. If it's like the old program, the time of use program that I think is still in place gives you a discounted rate of something like 6.5 cents on your charging or on your entire home actually between say the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And then there's a mid-range level that might be say 12 cents per kilowatt and then the full 16 cents during the day. And then there were some restrictions about during the summer. They had very high rates during the summer, June through September between the hours of 1 and 7 p.m. And they had, the way the program worked was you would sign up for a year. They would analyze your bill versus just being on the standard flat 16 cents a kilowatt rate. And if for some reason the time of use rate cost you more, they would actually rebate you the difference. My personal situation, we tried it for a year. My wife was at home during the day, so we were running the air conditioner during the hot summer months, and basically the program was a wash. So we personally are just on straight 16 cents. But the nice thing is it is the entire home gets these discounted rates. But the main hook that I understood from it is it's best if nobody's home during the afternoon in the summer, and that's the best way to take advantage. So there is a federal incentive as well for installing charging stations, both for residential and commercial. I just found a link last night. I believe it was on ChargePoint. So if you look up ChargePoint EV charging incentives, they have a page that you can look at individuals, businesses, or fleets and see what those discounts and those federal or local state programs are.
Great, thank you, Paul. And next question is, what other events does the county and NVEVA host together? So I guess we could talk about, you should be seeing on your screen the next set of events that are in person at the Summerlin Library. One is EV 101, that's on Saturday, April 27th from 11 a.m. to 12:30. That'll be the basics presentation. Paul will also be there, and Nicole from our Clean Cities Coalition. And then EV 102 is Saturday, May 11th from 2 p.m. to 3:30, and that one will just be a more advanced course on that. There is no registration for this event as seating is first come, first serve. So we recommend you putting the date down in your calendar and then showing up on the day of. And there will also be some vehicles out there as well and charging stations so you could learn hands-on to plug in the vehicles. Um, And another events we have coming up is Earth Day at Springs Preserve. So all in Clark County and the Nevada Electric Vehicle Association will be there at the Springs Preserve on Saturday, April 20th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you could stop by the All in Clark County booth to learn more about our programming and our community sustainability and climate action plan. And then the Nevada Electric Vehicle Association will be there with other EV dealerships or those who are promoting different electric vehicles. So you could come check out different makes and models of the vehicles as well. And then also on our website, so the screen you're viewing this presentation on now, if you just scroll right past the live stream, you will see different registration options to register for the events. Again, this one that you're seeing on the Summerlin Library is not registered. You cannot register for, but the other ones coming up we do. So we have one on home energy and electric vehicle tax credits, another webinar on May 21st, and this is with the Nevada Clean Energy Fund. So if you want to even learn more about the EV credits that Paul discussed today and some home energy credits you could do, please register for that webinar as well. And then we'll also be having the IRS do two webinars for one for the community talking about home energy tax credits in June, and then one more focused on commercial tax credits in July for the Southern Nevada Clean Cities Coalition. Those are not on our webpage just yet, but they should be up to date shortly, so you can register for those as well. And that is all the questions that we have today. Paul, if there's anything else you'd like to share, but thank you again for coming on and presenting for us. And thank you for the audience for engaging and asking us questions and coming to learn more about EVs.
There is one event in particular I can think of, and I apologize I don't have all the information in front of me, but the next day after our Springs Preserve event on Sunday, April 21st, there is also going to be another sponsored event from Solup at Solup's building on Dean Martin Drive. And I know we've got some pretty heavy hitters coming in. Senator Dina Titus is going to be there, among others. I can't remember the rest, but I believe that is on its way. And of course, the Drive Electric Week, the weekend, last weekend in September, it's either going to be I believe it's the 28th or 29th, will be our next big showcase of electric vehicles, hopefully ride and drives and so forth. So hopefully we will see you at those events. And thank you again for hosting.